Julia Lovell, Maoism, A Global History. Embark on a journey through the turbulent history and global impact of Maoism as we explore Julia Lovell's Maoism, A Global History. Delve into the core principles of Maoism, from its emphasis on violence and the role of peasants, to its unexpected intersections with feminism and anti-imperialism. Discover the worldwide reach of Maoism as it shaped political landscapes in Asia, Africa, the Americas, and even Europe. Uncover the duality of Maoism, from its revolutionary aspirations to the darker consequences of its purges and implementations, leaving lasting effects worldwide.
Maoism, the empowerment and darker sides. Maoism, which originated from China, has some core principles that can be condensed into violence, feminism, and anti-imperialism. Although theoretically seeking to empower the disenfranchised, Maoism has darker sides, such as continuous revolution and purges. This article explores Mao's background, the rise of CCP, and the Cultural Revolution, discussing the movement's impact on the world. Red Star over China. In 1936, American journalist Edgar Snow spent 4 months with Mao Zedong in the remote caves of northwest China, conducting interviews that resulted in the book Red Star over China. The book had a profound impact on how Mao and Maoism were perceived, becoming an international bestseller that inspired young Chinese students to join Mao's cause and revolutionaries around the world. Despite questions about both Mao's image and the editing process, Red Star over China played a pivotal role in Maoist thought and influenced government officials, guerrillas, and students for years to come. Mao's global propaganda. A look at how Mao's propaganda machine helped establish China as a world power and fueled the Sino-Soviet split. In the late 1950s, Mao Zedong manufactured international outbursts to challenge Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev's program of peaceful coexistence and promote his own personality cult. This rift further deepened when a new map of the world was published in 1966, with China at the center. Mao was portrayed as the savior of world revolution, battling imperialism, capitalism, and Soviet revisionism. This global cult for the chairman underlined the growing differences between China and the Soviet Union, leading to a Sino-Soviet split where competition between the two countries justified Mao's increasingly radical policies in his quest for global domination. The split had an impact on the communist bloc, leading to aggressive nationalism across borders, especially in Vietnam and Cambodia, and pushed the Soviets toward imperial overreach as both countries vied for power in the developing world. In fact, the author suggests that the Sino-Soviet split was also the beginning of the end of the Cold War. The propaganda effort by Mao's regime included glorifying books, magazines and leaflets, and a publication known as the Little Red Book. Over 1 billion copies of the book, containing Mao's quotations, were sent worldwide, helping to establish China as a prominent world power. The propaganda also planted seeds of revolution and trained guerrillas in revolutionaries far from China. However, the cost of Mao's radical policies was dire, leading to the Great Leap Forward, which transformed into widespread famine, causing tens of millions of rural people to die of starvation. Despite China's suffering, its foreign aid grew considerably, painting Mao's policies as a success. In summary, Mao's propaganda machine played a crucial role in establishing China's dominance in the world and fueled the Sino-Soviet split. The competition between the two superpowers justified Mao's radical policies both at home and abroad, despite the devastating consequences that led to China's growing power. Indonesia's bloody history. This book reveals how the Communist Party of Indonesia, inspired by Maoist ideology, instigated a failed coup, resulting in mass violence and the deaths of at least 500,000 Indonesians. The author presents evidence showing that Mao's confrontational political style influenced the PKI to challenge the Indonesian military, leading to their retaliation. The PKI's Maoist strategies, such as grassroots education, rent reduction for peasants, and financial support from China, helped them gain significant political power. However, Mao-style tactics without proper military backing proved fatal when the PKI attempted a coup that went awry. In the aftermath, foreign investments flowed into Indonesia, marking the beginning of a capitalist era, with labor unions losing their power and the military acquiring impunity. This book is an insightful read, uncovering the dark history of Indonesia's post-colonial era that is often swept under the rug. China's Africa aid failure. The Chinese Communist Party's foreign aid efforts in Africa during the Great Leap Forward era failed to promote Maoist-style politics, but did help China gain a seat in the United Nations. The CCP provided more than $24 billion in aid to African countries between 1950 and 1978, but it did not create stable governance structures or reliable allies. China's aid to Tanzania and Zambia, including financing the Tanzam Railway, did not achieve its goals. Tanzania's President Julius Nyerere imported Maoist political models to Tanzania and announced Ujamaa, his version of Chinese collectivization, which resulted in starvation and poverty. However, China's spending in Africa helped the PRC win the UN seat in 1971. China's role in Southeast Asia's conflict. The domino theory, popularized in the 1950s, suggested that if a country in a region turned communist, the rest would follow. The US was blinded by this theory and committed significant resources to war in Vietnam. However, China also subscribed to the idea and invested heavily in North Vietnam, providing aid, military training, and support for land redistribution. China's relationship with North Vietnam soured after the Geneva Conference, but China had a new disciple in Southeast Asia, Pol Pot. Mao's financial assistance of $1 billion made the Khmer Rouge genocide in Cambodia possible. However, after Mao's death in 1976, his deputies walked back support for Pol Pot, causing China's era of revolutionary Maoism to end. Maoism's influence in the West. Maoism's popularity has spread to the West and influenced various groups, individuals, and movements. In the US during the Civil Rights Movement, Mao's anti-imperialist stance resonated with black radicals. Maoist beliefs also appealed to left-wing groups in Europe, with China presenting itself as a vanguard of anti-imperialism. Maoism contributed to the splintering of new left movements in the West, and violent groups like the Baader-Meinhof gang caused fear among the public and helped neoliberals consolidate power. Maoism also indirectly led to sinister cases, such as the Singaporean Arvindan Balakrishnan, who attracted a cult following in London and incorporated Maoist-style self-criticism into psychological control tactics. Shining Path, the peasant revolution that devastated Peru. The Shining Path insurgency led by Abimael Guzman in Peru during the 1980s was one of the most destructive conflicts in the Americas. The movement was founded as a peasant revolution, but it inflicted horrific violence on rural populations. Guzman's revolutionary violence and brutal state retaliation led to over 69,000 deaths, essentially eliminating the possibility of democracy in Peru. Guzman's easy, militant solutions appealed to disenfranchised ethnic minorities, but the violence eventually alienated the party from the peasants. The Peruvian government initially responded with total ineptitude, then retaliated with extreme brutality. Finally, a new counterterrorism squad collected and analyzed intelligence, leading to Guzman's arrest in September 1992. However, the legacy of the Shining Path era still lives on as subsequent politicians hijacked democracy and rural populations suffered disproportionately. Maoism in India. Maoism in India underscores the sufferings of rural populations from Maoist insurrection. The insurgency, fueled by the Communist Party of India and the Chinese Communist Party's support, began in 1962 and resulted from deep soci-economic crises and pitiful land reforms that enriched landowners. The Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist, from which subsequent Maoist factions derive, split from the group in 1967, following a massacre that claimed 11 lives and sparked students and disaffected city dwellers' aforementioned rise to communism, known as Naxalites. By 1980, Naxalites settled in the state of Chhattisgarh to regroup and continue their revolutionary insurrection, seizing 20,000 acres of land by 1985. While the government initially turned a blind eye to the Maoist guerrillas, they became a threat to potential mining profits after the issuance of mining contracts to corporations in the area. As a result, the Indian government deputized army and police squads to clear out insurgents, who took a scorched earth approach and subjected villagers suspected of Maoist sympathies to rape, torture, and murder. Unfortunately, the clear losers of the escalated conflict are Chhattisgarh's rural communities. Mao's resurgence in China. After the death of Mao, China's political leaders focused on demaoification, privatizing the economy and dissolving the communes. They also mulched up to 90% of Mao's Little Red Book. However, in recent years, Mao's legacy has made a complex resurgence in China under Xi Jinping's leadership. She has reasserted the personality cult and criticism/self-criticism sessions, abolished the two-term limit, and granted himself lifetime rule. The key message is that Xi Jinping is the most Maoist leader since the chairman. Mao's legacy initially creeped into China's consumerist culture in the early 1990s with taxi drivers hanging portraits and Mao-themed restaurants popping up. Neo-Maoists were anti-imperialist and revered Mao as a hero, denouncing any criticism of his policies. Xi's policies have little in common with Mao, but his cultural trappings and the complex legacy of the chairman still live on in China and across the world.
As we reach the end of our exploration of Maoism through Julia Lovell's work, we are left with the realization that this ideology has had a profound and lasting impact on the world, often in unexpected ways. From sparking movements for social justice and inspiring revolutionaries to its devastating effects on rural populations, and its role in global conflicts, Maoism's influence is undeniably complex and far-reaching. Through the roller coaster ride of Maoism, a global history, we have gained a deep understanding of its principles, growth, and the paradoxical nature it portrays throughout various historical events and geopolitical landscapes.